Om. In a journey to unravel the Atma Tattva in the light of Māṇḍūkya Upanishad that we termed in the last class as a kind of reverse engineering, traveling from Anatma to Atma. Atma, which is Nitya, shall stay forever. It is beyond any change, any mutation. It's there forever, eternity. Anatma, that is Anitya, shall perish, has an age, prone to change. So the journey is from Anatma to Atma. And what is the path that we have adopted here? Under the light of Māṇḍūkya Upanishad, the consciousness which is Nitya, the Atma Tattva, the emanation from the consciousness leads to three modifications that are Anatma: Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. The waking state, the dream state, the dreamless state. The three states that I've mentioned now are anatma, not going to stay forever. They undergo modification very quickly. You are in a waking state. The moment you enter into sleep, you are into a dream state, a modification, a change. And at times you undergo a deep sleep, which is dreamless, again a modification. And then you rise, again a modification from dreamless to the waking state or from the dream to waking state. So these are anatma. Jagrat is anatma, swapna is anatma, sushupti is anatma. They are all anatma, although they source their origin, their existence to the Atma Tattva, which is Nitya, eternity. Since eternity, for eternity, and absolutely immutable. Not only immutable, it is incomplete. Incomplete? No, not incomplete. It is in the complete absolute form. Anything else than that is incomplete. So it is in the complete absolute form, which is the Purnata, the Atma Tattva. In this mantra number 4, as it mentions, you can read it here. Swapnasthana antah pragya saptang ekon vishanti mukha pravivikt muk tejasah dvitiya padaha. It talks about the dream state. The dream state is the second part of the anatma awareness. Let me term them as the three compartments of awareness: the dream, the dreamless, and the outermost is the waking state that we embarked yesterday. Today it is about the dream state. The dream state is inward. When we are not on the gross plane outward, but instead of that, we are on the gross plane but inward, that is the dream state. But the organs and the openings through which the business of dream state is conducted are absolutely the same as in the waking state. There is no different. As like in the waking state, in the dream state also, it has got 7 limbs or 7 organs. And those 7 organs, to dispense their function, their business, they have the same 19 openings. The 5 action-oriented sensory organs or drivers, 5 knowledge-oriented sensory organs or drivers, 5 kinds of prana. Then there are 4 instruments of awareness, namely the mind, intellect, chitta, the storehouse of the memory and propensities, and the last, the hinge, is the ego. They are all same as they were in the waking state. Almost the difference between the waking state and the dream state is obliterated. Why so? because almost all activities that we can perform in the waking state, they all are experienced in the dream state in their absolute form. Absolute form? What about the limbs, the legs, the arms? If the intensity of the dream is very high, even the legs and arms, they gather momentum. And moreover, if the dream is so intense, engaging, or horrifying, one would abruptly get up in the middle of the night, gasping for the breath, and then recollect one's own form as intact and remind to one's own self, oh no, everything is perfect, it's okay, it was just a dream. But dream coming from such an intensity of realism where you could not deny its existence when it was ongoing within yourself. It's an inward journey in the subtle form. Vivikta, Vivikta, Pravivikta. What is Pravivikta? It is in this subtle dimension. It is not happening the way it happens in the gross form, but it is there in the subtle dimension. You taste a mango in a dream. Should it taste different? No, it is the same. Everything is the same. If you touch a feather in a dream, should it be different? No, absolutely the same. Yes, the only difference is that the dream state, it gathers its source, its origin, its input from the abruptness of the waking state. There is too much inconclusivity in the waking state, so many objectives to cherish, so many desires to fructify. There is much to be expressed in this life, much to be achieved, and all that inconclusivity, it goes and parks itself in its own inconclusive form deep within our own mind, in our own brain. And then when we go to sleep, all that rises to cherish itself, but all in a very abrupt sense. When we fall to sleep and we enter into dream state, that perpetual or the perennial flow of dreams, it may not be that coherent. One dream to another is necessarily not going to pass a relay torch in an organized manner. Everything is very abrupt. Why abrupt? Because all inconclusivity which has been brought forward from the waking state is now expressing itself in the dream state. The dream state owes its origin, its source from a borrowed light, from a borrowed luminosity. That is why this state is also termed as Taijasaha. As you can read it in the mantra, it mentioned it as a Taijasa. Why? Because the luminosity is borrowed from elsewhere. It is not its own original property. So, this is the dream state of Anatma. I must also make a mention beside this that Māṇḍūkya Upanishad, it opens up with the primordial sound, the cosmic vibration known as Om. It is a culmination of three letters A, U, Ma. There is enough to be expressed about that. But I'm not taking that part when I'm interpreting these mantras at present, but they shall be certainly taken over in the light of A, U, and Ma separately. Then you will find the trace of those letters in the same mantra, how they connect with it, how the microcosmic and the macrocosmic entities that need to be unraveled further, following their source from the same mantra, how they are going to find their mention, that shall be revealed later. But here at present, we remain confined to the words of the mantra and do not travel beyond, because this mantra gathers its spirit and understanding from various other scriptures that also contribute to the same understanding mentioned elsewhere. So we will also pool that resource later on to draw a detailed mention upon the same verse but in a different light. Here it is only about the three states of awareness that come under anatma, not going to last forever. Borrow their source from atma. And today it was about the dream state which transpires within our own self, antaha pragya, and has the same organs, limbs, and openings as with the Jagrat, the waking state. But it transpires in the subtle dimension, experience the subtle dimension. I must also reiterate a fact over here. Upanishads are primarily those understandings bestowed by the exalted ones that they have been able to witness in their own spiritual pursuit, in their inner voyage, when they were in the deep state of meditation within themselves. All those unravelings, the Shrutis, they were brought forward and bequeathed to our generation as an endowment. So it makes a mandation for all those seekers to find the traces of these mantras within their own laboratory of consciousness. And thereby, meditation must be there in one's life. If one truly wants to unearth and understand these facts within one's own consciousness, within one's own awareness, within one's own existence, I go live for meditation upon my another channel, Gita Online in Hindi, every day morning at 3:58 IST, Indian Standard Time. You can join later because the recording is left open each day. It depends upon you, but I would certainly suggest that to find the trace of these mantra, the understanding that you've drawn right now, which is merely a communication to you by words, but to see it happening within yourself, the kind of endorsement, the satisfaction you shall gather shall go beyond limits. It was all in today's class. More to come tomorrow in another class. Om Shanti.